What is up, guys? Welcome back to the Kick-Ass Podcast. I hope you're having a fantastic start to your week. We are here a little early or a little late, depending on how you look at it, but we are here specifically for AEW and a prediction show for Full Gear that will be airing live this Saturday, November 19th. We do still have the Go Home Dynamite that will be airing tomorrow night on Wednesday, and then the live Rampage, which I'm pretty certain will be in New York as well. I mean, obviously would make sense, especially if it is going to be a live Rampage, rather, which I'm pretty certain it is. But we will get into the quick lineup here for Dynamite just to kind of run down some things, and then we'll obviously be getting into the Full Gear card itself. Like I stated, they should be airing from Bridgeport, Connecticut tomorrow night on Dynamite. If not, then apologies for that. But our lineup here so far shows that we have a promo from AEW World Champion Jon Moxley. We should be hopefully getting an in-person promo as well from MJF. We have Ethan Page facing off against the recently officially confirmed and signed pen to paper, which feels like it's been weeks going back and forth. But that, of course, is Bandito in an AEW World Championship Eliminator Tournament semifinal match. The finals, I'm pretty certain, will be taking place at the Winners Coming show that they host every year, which is definitely one of their bigger dynamites throughout the year itself. So that should be fun to see how things and what the landscape of AEW itself will look like in like a month or so, if that. Next up on the card, we have Claudio Castagnoli and Bryan Danielson, BCC, facing off against Chris Jericho and Sammy Guevara. That should be an interesting match, especially with all the developments that have been going on lately and kind of a little bit of dissension between Bryan Danielson and not necessarily Claudio, but Danielson and Yuta. It'll be interesting to see if Yuta kind of accompanies them down to the ring, or if we get any backstage promo before the match itself, or if this ends up being the opening match for Dynamite. So we'll see if anything really major kind of happens, or maybe not major, but any more signs that may show that there may be some dissension in the BCC. It'll be interesting to see kind of where the pieces lay if that's the case, but still a little premature with that, but that should definitely be a good match nonetheless. And it's interesting to see Chris Jericho again wrestling on Dynamite. He's been picking up matches, his match count lately, so shout out to him for putting in the work there. He's definitely holding the Ring of Jericho title, or taking it seriously, rather. So interesting to see, like I said, just how active he's been in the ring lately. And again, to see kind of the direction that Sammy Guevara goes in, too. The promo that he had, what was it, was it on Rampage? Gosh, maybe it was Rampage. I'm pretty certain it was Rampage. He kind of took like a babyface direction-ish. But then, of course, his match later on just, again, confirmed he's on the bad guy's side for now, which definitely is fitting for the character and the direction that he and Tay Conti, have been going in. And it just makes sense, play into that. So if the fans want to cheer you or boo you for that matter, just play into it, right? Why make things more difficult than they need to be? Also on Dynamite, we have AEW Interim Women's Champion Toni Storm facing off against the Bunny in an Eliminator match. I have no idea where the Bunny has been lately unless she's been on Dark, but there's that. We have Death Triangle, which is Pac, Rey Fenix, and Penta El Cero Miedo facing off against Dante Martin, Darius Martin, and AR Fox for the AEW Trios titles, which I assume we will not be getting an AEW Trios Championship match at Full Gear unless we get some impromptu match between them and the returning Elite. So that is, I guess, to be determined. So we'll see. And I think Dynamite is going to show, or the hand that they play on Dynamite, rather, for the Trios titles and the Trios champs, I think is going to be kind of telling on what we get on Saturday, or unless they leave it a complete surprise and just do something just very, I guess surprising, for lack of better words, Saturday itself on the pay-per-view. Or for instance, like if Death Triangle just shows up and they're like, hey, we're the champs, why don't we have a match on the card? Which I guess there's a ton of champions who could say that. And issue an open challenge, for instance. But I think that would be maybe a little too cute, especially since we've been getting the video packages that the Elite obviously have been playing and have been airing for the past about 2-3 weeks now, if I'm not mistaken. So it'll be interesting to see how they really handle their return, if they go straight to a match, if they just have them simply return. I doubt they're really going to have like a full-blown promo segment, because what really can you say right now, especially since apparently everything hasn't still been officially resolved. But we'll see. It's really intriguing, and like I've stated before, it's really cool. The videos that they've been putting together, the burning images of the Elite just kind of disintegrating along with the logo. So we'll see. But next up on the card for Dynamite, we have Anthony Bowens in one-on-one action facing off against Swerve Strickland, which should be a really fun match. I'm really looking forward to seeing these guys just face off one-on-one, and I hope they get a good amount of time to do so. And lastly, second to last, we have Tony Schiavone interviewing Britt Baker, Dr. Britt Baker, that is, DMD and Saraya. And last but not least, we have the Acclaim's latest music video making its debut on Dynamite, which should be fantabulous. So we shall see what that ends up being. But with that out of the way, we will move over officially to the AEW Full Gear 2022 card. Again, it is airing this year from Newark, New Jersey, just about a little over 2 months from September's AEW All Out or Brawl Out, depending on how you want to label it and look back on it as at this point. Which sucks, you know. It was a pretty good pay-per-view, and the Joker character, the Devil, MJF making his return, was so well done, and there's just so much promise to that. And it's crazy to think the culmination of a tournament rather for the trios titles and that crowning of the Elite, and your newly crowned or newly regained champion CM Punk. Both of those newly crowned champions are no longer, well, I'm not gonna say no longer, because obviously the Elite are making their return, but they're not a factor at all in the pay-per-view just 2 months ish later. So it's just crazy. But you know, for me, I'm really intrigued, like I was kind of talking about a few minutes ago. I'm just really intrigued to see how they bring the Elite back, how they handle addressing it, which like I said, I don't, not sitting here expecting them to be like, oh, well, this is exactly what happened, you know? But I think you I don't know, you kind of have to address it, right? And you've gone to the trouble of making these videos. I don't know, it's going to be really interesting, so I'm really intrigued to see how they handle that going forward. But getting into the card itself here, and like I said, we don't have any buy-in matches or anything like that announced quite yet. So we'll be getting straight to the card. We have another newly officially All Elite member to the AEW roster, that being Jeff Jarrett, teaming up with his good pal Jay Lethal versus Darby Allin and Sting. And again, man, it's just fucking crazy to think of the year Jeff Jarrett has had. He's gone from teaming up with Jay Lethal to face off against Ric Flair and Andrade, and Ric Flair's maybe official last match. He was with WWE, got fired from WWE. It's just, and now he's in AEW. And it's just, it's wild, man. It's wild. And, you know, I don't hate it. I don't know. I can't recall specifically if I've addressed Jeff Jarrett being in AEW. I think I probably have. Maybe, I don't know. But I don't hate it, you know? Like, at first I was like, really? Like, why? Like, I had pretty much probably the same reaction everyone had. But then once I sat and I really thought about it for a few minutes, I was like, you know what? This dude, it's obvious he's not gunning for the championship, like the heavyweight championship or anything like that. He's not going to be the face of the promotion. After this, we're probably not going to see him on TV much after, I would say probably give him a couple months to hash this out with Darby Allin, maybe I don't know if we're even going to get like a one-on-one match with Sting. I come to think of it, I don't even think we have at this point had a one-on-one match with Sting in AEW, with anyone. If we have, it's completely escaping me right now. So I don't think you would want to spend his first one-on-one AEW match on Jeff Jarrett. No offense. I think you would want to save that for someone younger, like a Darby Allin or something like that. But yeah, man, I don't hate it. And especially with, I forget the official title, but it's like something in business relating to live events or something to that effect that he's going to be handling behind the scenes. Why not? You know what I mean? Like, dude obviously has a shit ton of experience. He's pretty much had every position, if you really think about it, in wrestling that you could probably have. He's been booker, he's owned a company, he's been wrestler, he's done everything. So It's really quite fascinating, I'm not the biggest Jeff Jarrett fan, so I'm not going to sit here and blow smoke or pretend to be, but I'm not a hater either, so shout out to him for finding work, you know what I mean, and always finding that bag. So with that kind of being out of the way, I think this tag match is set up for Darby Allin and Sting. I think Darby Allin has been taking a beating lately and been taking a lot of L's. So I think this is going to be a much needed victory for him. Sting obviously doesn't really need it, but Sting has been out lately too as well. So again, not that Sting needs it, but Darby Allin, I think, my opinion, needs this W a little bit more. Yes, I could see Jeff Jarrett and Jay Lethal doing something, shitty to get the cheap victory or something like that to extend this a little further. So that wouldn't really surprise me, especially depending on how focused they want to get on Jeff Jarrett and Sting and their relationship in the past and things like that. So, the more I sit here and talk about it, I could sway my official pick the other way, but I'm going to stick with Jeff Jarrett and Jay Lethal taking the L and Darby Allin getting his much needed victory here along with Sting. I think that they can still find a way to extend this further if they really want to or feel like they need to. But I think right now Darby needs this victory, especially if their rematch. Well, I mean, depending on when Winter is coming as well. If that isn't for like another month, maybe you could extend it another 3-ish weeks, and then I don't know. But I'm gonna, like I said, guys, I could talk myself out of it. So I'm gonna stick with my official pick, Darby Allin and Sting picking up the victory here. But you guys are my witness. I wouldn't be surprised if Jeff Jarrett and Jay Lethal do something shitty and shiesty to cheat to get the victory. But next up on the card, we have Luchasaurus facing off against Jungle Boy Jack Perry in a steel cage match with Christian Cage most likely being outside of the cage. And I think this is really cool because the cage match stipulation for this, because we don't see a lot of cage matches in AEW. What have we seen? One, the Cody and Wardlow match, or two, I'm sorry, and then we saw that fantastic, oh my gosh, that tag team match with the Young Bucks and the Lucha Bros, if I'm not mistaken. So we think we have had two, but I'm pretty certain there's only been, well, I know we've had two, but I'm pretty certain there hasn't been a third. If so, no offense, sorry, who was involved in that third, but I know we've had a shark cage stipulation, but not I don't know. I'm going to look that up after the show now because you know it's going to bother me, guys. But this match is, or this stipulation rather, is very fitting for this match, and I think it's very well done. It kind of plays into the fact where Christian Cage is still injured, obviously, right? He's still coming out with his arm in the sling to remind us, which is a legit injury as well, so it's not like he's just bullshitting. But that kind of eliminates him from even being able to think about climbing into the cage, right? So if Jack Perry can figure out how to successfully make sure that door is locked, then you pretty much have eliminated Christian Cage. I mean, yeah, he can maybe slide like a kendo stick in or something like that, or brass knucks or something like that, but I think this is a good sign for Jungle Boy, I really don't see Luchasaurus needing the victory here. I think this is going to be another standout moment for Jack Perry and something that he needs going forward, especially since we're going to kind of drag this out until Christian can make his return. But I think in the meantime, this will be kind of good in a few different ways, right? It'll give Jack Perry a little bit more momentum, right? And a little bit more singles credibility, kind of establish him more as his own man, right? And his own singles competitor, his own wrestler fighting and making his way up the ladder, in a lot of sense. I think this is going to be a standout moment for Luchasaurus. I think dude is insanely talented for the size he is. I think in the future I would love to see him break out of this character. I have seen Luchasaurus, the real dude, on Big Brother, which is, I don't know if you guys have seen the show, but I'm not going to get into it. But if you haven't, just look up Luchasaurus, Big Brother. His real name is escaping me right now, but this dude has like a master's degree in like art history or some specific history. Maybe it was medieval. I think it was actually medieval history, which would kind of make more sense. It's just crazy to think about. But that being said, like, this dude has a lot of layers to him, maybe pun intended. So I would love to see this be a breakout moment for him. I would love to see Christian kind of snap on him after taking the loss here and threaten to, like, obviously he can't hit him with a chair, but threaten to, like, physically harm Luchasaurus, which may sound crazy, but make it, have it at a point where Luchasaurus is just getting up, from after he had just taken the 3 count, the doors open, the cage is just rising to the top. Christian slides his way in there, starts giving him shit. Luchasaurus, well, I guess you can't physically, I was going to say choke slams him, but you can't physically do anything to right now, but maybe he chokes him out or just puts his hand around his throat, right, and kind of chokes him pretty something fierce. And that could be the start of the Luchasaurus. Maybe that's too soon. I don't know, I'm getting ahead of myself, guys, but I think maybe long term I could see, or I would want to see rather, just something more for Luchasaurus, but right now, Jungle Boy, Jack Perry is getting the victory. I would be surprised if Luchasaurus picks up the victory here. I think, again, Jack Perry needs it. I really don't want to see Christian get involved to cause him another loss here. Just not until it's time for them to have their one-on-one match. Moving on, we have the TBS champion Jade Cargill facing off against Nyla Rose for the AEW TBS Championship. Not really much to really get into here because there's not really that much of a story. The whole story is Nyla Rose stole the physical championship and is calling herself the TBS champion, which, because it's Nyla Rose, it was kind of comical, but when they came out, I think it was maybe a week ago, or 2 weeks ago at this point, when Cargill had her match against Shafir, I was just not feeling her and Vicky Guerrero just talking throughout the entire match. Like, it was just for me, it was just like an overload. It was just too much. No offense to any, like, one in specific. It was just too much. Like, I just needed to mute a specific section. You know what I mean? It was just too much for me. Maybe that was just me, but that's really the whole gist of the story. And Cargill has been chasing her ever since to try to get the championship back. So yeah, that leads us to Full Gear. So, I mean, I guess there's something, at least there's something. I don't see Cargill taking the loss, unfortunately, for Nyla Rose. I see this just being another L for Nyla and then her disappearing for a while again until she comes back, which is a shame, because I really enjoy Nyla Rose, and I think with this side of Nyla Rose and this entertaining side of her, I think there's a lot that they can really explore. So I hope she doesn't disappear. I hope that it's just an L for right now, but we'll see. But officially, and probably to no surprise, I'm picking Jade Cargill to retain her title and officially get possession back of the championship and move on. We are moving on as well to the next matchup on the card. That is Claudio Castagnoli versus Chris Jericho versus Bryan Danielson versus Sammy Guevara for the ROH/J Championship. Guys, you can sit here and talk for 2 hours about all these guys, rightfully so, Sammy Guevara, but specifically Claudio, Jericho, and Danielson specifically, like that, there's... What can you say? What can't you say about those guys, right? And then Sammy Guevara, I think he's just the right foil in this match with these guys who are involved. It's just a good dynamic, and I think he's the perfect guy to be in there. If you're going to have a multi-man match like this with Jericho and Danielson being in there and Claudio, I think Sammy is the perfect foil, like I said, to kind of be in there and take the bumps and just kind of give it a little bit more movement and a little bit more just... kind of more breath and life. But with that said, this is probably nothing surprising, but I'm picking Chris Jericho to retain. I don't really know who the end game is going to be and the big boss is going to be for Jericho that he can't defeat. I think we're still a little early on, but it's intriguing. I personally am in the ballpark and in the camp of I'm kind of tired of seeing ROH all over AEW. But I understand from the business aspect of it why Tony Khan is doing it, right? He's trying to get ROH, whether it's a TV slot, which I'm sure, best wishes and ideal. Worst case, like another YouTube thing that they have going on, or maybe something on streaming. I don't really know specifically. Obviously, no one does at this point. But it's not like he has a platform, right, with WWE, for instance. Like, if WWE recently acquired Ring of Honor and they were looking to have weekly programming, they could easily throw something on Peacock and call it a day. So I get why he's keeping Ring of Honor relevant. I think me personally, I would have really loved if he would have, well, I'm not going to say loved because that's a bit, extreme. But I think I really would have preferred if, at least at this point, if when he bought Ring of Honor, he would have just bought it and then used it more for like the video package and then the history there and the lineage and being able to call back on things and actually say and show footage and pictures. So I don't know. Maybe I will not be so, I don't want to say resentful because I'm not at that point where some people are, but maybe so just kind of tired and just kind of over it, and just I want AEW to focus on AEW again, and I miss that. Again, maybe some people, like, if you don't hate anything AEW does, they're like, oh, like, there's no real difference, you're still getting the same guys. Well, no, you're not really, you know what I mean? I expect Chris Jericho, I expect all the Ring of Honor champions to migrate over to Ring of Honor television or streaming, whatever they get when they get it. So I don't know, but with all that out of the way, again, officially my pick is Chris Jericho to retain the championship. Again, I don't see him losing the title, especially in a 4-way right now, so we'll see who his next competitor is going to be after this. The next matchup we have is the Doctor herself, Britt Baker, facing off against the returning and recently officially cleared Saraya. The journey that Saraya has had back to the ring, this, of course, being her first match back in almost 5 years, it's quite emotional, all the nitpicking and bullshit out of the way with a breakdown of, like, their promos or who said what, I think the moment for this and, like, the match itself is gonna kind of just be enough. You know what I mean? I think we, as fans, should give a lot of leeway and forgiveness and just not go into it with high expectations or really any expectations at all. I mean, yes, you want it to be a good match, obviously, especially since you're paying actual money to see it, right? But I'm not going into this match expecting a 5-star classic from these two. I'm going in there just, first of all, super stoked that Saraya is cleared and she's physically okay and she's able to do what she loves, Like, this chick has been doing this for, I think she said, 17 years or 15 years or something like that. So, and obviously if you know her story, it's literally in her family, it's her family business. If you've been watching the promos, you know what she's gone through. So I'm not going to sit here and go through her whole story. And obviously if you know her as Paige in WWE, and we all, being AEW fans, know the Doctor, so yeah, I think this is gonna be, again, I'm not expecting it to be a 5-star classic, and I'm not really, I don't know, and to me that's okay. I'm going into this just expecting it to be good and just hoping for the best and kind of watching through my hands, a little bit. But I trust Saraya. Who am I to sit here and say this chick should or should not be wrestling? I trust that she did what she needed to do. She obviously, I don't know if you guys have heard it. I haven't heard the actual interview itself, but I've heard, like, it's like some bullet points from it, or I've read, rather, some bullet points. I think she said she went to, like, 25 or 27 different doctors, and she did her due diligence, We'll leave it at that. So, yeah, and like I said, Tony Khan isn't dumb. He's not going to put all this hype, money, attention, and her health, most importantly, on the line for a match, and especially at the end of the day, it's just a match, right? At the end of the day, even if it's a championship match, yes, there's different levels to matches, but your health, these wrestlers' health, excuse me, is most important, right? So, just the human in me, and it was the same way when Edge came back, and the same way when Bryan Danielson came back. Like, the first few matches, I was kind of, like, watching through my hands, because you don't want these guys and gals to get hurt. So, with all that out of the way, and kind of more focusing back on the story, again, I wasn't, their past in-ring segment was just kind of, I don't want to say all over the place, but it just didn't really give me a direct focus. And I think this week on Dynamite, or tomorrow night rather, we're going to get that drive home now that it's officially been set. I think now that all the cards are on the table, I think it's going to be a good segment, and I hope it is, for that matter, too. But officially, I have Saraya winning the match here. I see why it would be really tempting to have Britt do something again to steal a victory, but I don't think you want to blow all that goodwill and just good vibes just to give Dr. Britt Baker a cheap victory here. I think you want Saraya to show what she has and show what she can do. And a lot could be said for, some people could say, oh, well, why would you want Saraya to come in and immediately bury or immediately beat the number one star in the division? And I do see that, and Britt is obviously the face of the women's division, champion or not, but at the end of the day, she's not the champion right now. So if Saraya beats Britt, that gives Saraya even more momentum and talking points and leverage to go after an interim champion in Toni Storm or a TBS champion in Jade Cargill. And that match doesn't need to happen for another month or two. That can be at Winter is Coming, right? If everything goes well in this match, Saraya feels good, everyone's happy with it. You can build to if you want to just focus on the TBS championship, you can do that. But I think there'd be something fun between between Saraya and Toni Storm. So that's going to be my official prediction. Saraya's getting the W here and probably focusing on Toni Storm after that. The next match on the card, we have your tag team champs, The Acclaim, facing off against Swerve and Our Glory for the AEW Tag Team Championships. The Acclaim are just on a high right now, and they're just rolling on all cylinders. I'm happy for them. I think that they really stuck to their guns and they really just believed in themselves and got themselves over. And I think it's really cool to see, and it's really cool to be a part of like just this organic growth of them. I did in the past say, maybe Billy Gunn, daddy ass doesn't really necessarily need to be involved. And yeah, maybe I wasn't right on that. But I think very soon they probably do need to remove him and just focus on the Acclaimed and have them maybe be a little bit more serious. And again, run this out as long as you can, but don't overdo it. And I don't think they're even close to overdoing it yet, but I think it could be coming up soon. And I think there's going to be a lot of heat in the angle when Daddy Ass, inevitably turns on the Acclaim and has been working against, or just like kind of being like an inside guy, right? And just kind of working within to kind of try to destroy them from within. I could see them kind of maybe trying to go that direction as well, maybe. Or just flat out just beating the shit out of them one day and just teaming back up with his actual children. So we'll see, but I don't see the Acclaim losing the championships right now or anytime soon for that matter. So my official prediction is the Acclaim picking up the victory here and retaining the championships. I think this is hopefully going to be the turning point for Swerve officially and Keith Lee. I would love to see Keith Lee and Swerve face off against each other, or this be the start of the feud for them to face off against each other in the future. And I think Swerve has just been fucking fantastic in this new heel role that he's in and just been embracing more. So shout out to him too. Speaking of Toni Storm from earlier, we have, of course, her as the interim AEW Women's World Champion, defending that championship against Jamie Hayter for the championship. Not really much to say about this one. I think, again, I don't see Toni Storm losing the championship until potentially Thunder Rosa comes back, and even then, at this point, I don't see Toni probably losing at that point either, as crappy as that is to say. But yeah, I think Jamie Hayter is going to get a lot of fan support here, I think, for various reasons, which I'll let you figure out for yourselves. I think this is going to be a good match, though. I don't think they're going to pull the trigger here, though. I think it's too soon. And again, I think maybe if Toni Storm was the actual women's champion and not interim, maybe there would be more possibility that she could lose, but I just don't see them taking the championship off of Toni Storm to put it on Jamie Hayter for it to remain the interim championship until Thunder Rosa gets back. I just think that just kind of makes it too messy. So officially, Toni Storm is retaining here, and hopefully Thunder Rosa is okay and she's making some progress in her recovery. And as Mark Henry would say, there's been enough talk. It's time for the main event, guys. We are here. It is officially time. MJF facing off against AEW World Champion Jon Moxley. There's been so much going into this match. my opinion, so much left on the table as well. Maybe we'll get a little bit more into the story on tomorrow night's Dynamite, which I doubt at this point. I don't know, to me, I feel like there's a lot there with, for instance, Renee Paquette being literally standing there interviewing MJF, being the real life wife to the champion that he's facing off against, and there was just no real mention of that, really. Like, or if there was, it was just very brief, but nothing like the MJF we would of 2 years ago or a year ago. He would have been all over Renee, not, no disrespect, and you know what I mean, guys. So I'm just very surprised by that. I could see officially God, this one's difficult though. This one's difficult. I was gonna just blurt it out really quick, but it's just there's so much to it. I think MJF, my money is on MJF. I'm officially picking MJF. Maybe that's a lot easier of a choice for some people, but I don't know. I think there could be something to be said for MJF taking a loss here, as crazy as that is. But I think the real money and the real future, obviously, is in MJF winning. But the thing, and that's probably not even, or actually that really isn't the real hesitation that I have. It's how he's going to win the championship. To me, as much as I want to buy into this good guy MJF, or this guy who's starting to see the light, or he's seeing some rays of light and he's like, oh, maybe it isn't that bad, he's the devil. He's called himself the devil. You don't go from being the devil one week to being this refound and just this changed guy the next, like, especially when you're MJF. Like, there's just no way. I think what he said specifically about obviously not using the Dynamite diamond ring, yeah, he's not going to use that, but who has been the other focal point in this story, and the main focal point, really? William Regal. William Regal has what we all know, the brass knucks, the power of the punch. So yes, my opinion and my prediction, MJF is not going to use the Dynamite diamond ring. He's going to use the brass knucks. Whether that leads to a turn from Regal on Jon Moxley and what that means for the Blackpool Combat Club going forward is a whole other topic. Or if maybe MJF knocks down William Regal, pickpockets William Regal for the knucks, or just brings out a pair of his own knucks and just does it right in front of Regal's face, because Regal's point was, prove to me you're the devil that you say you are, essentially. So yes, MJF said that he wants to do this the right way. I don't see it happening right now. I think we've been kind of getting teased, and I think AEW and MJF were kind of testing the waters to see what a potential babyface run for MJF could look like, and I think that's possibly a year from now, or not even in AEW, but I don't think that's right now. I think that there's way more out of this piece of shit MJF that you can get out of right now, and I think him being champion is just literally the tip of the iceberg. You have so much to get out of a heel champion MJF. To me, it would be kind of a mistake to have him win and be a good guy, and go about it the right way. As much as I love Jon Moxley, I think I'm not that, if this pay-per-view wasn't for another 3 months, I would not be tired of Jon Moxley, put it that way, right? But I think with MJF being at the point that he's at now, especially kind of diving into the Hollywood world, and he's going to be in that Von Erich movie. I think it's Iron Claw, or I don't know the official name of it, but that's a big deal, and that's his first feature film, and that's just the start of many more in his young career, right? So I think while that could be a factor, and that could be an interesting tidbit depending on what his schedule would be like for filming, right? But I don't think, with how much MJF loves wrestling, I don't think right now he would be taking something, unless the money was just astronomical, right? But especially just recently coming back from possibly renewing or redoing his contract, getting a bonus, if nothing else, getting a bonus, right? Or a payout from, or not a payout, but a nice, I'll just stick with bonus, from Tony Khan. At least that's what we're made to believe. So I don't see him taking this Hollywood role and then dipping, you know what I mean? So I think he's going to be able to do both, and I don't see really that being a factor. And if so, then I'll admit that I was wrong. But I'm going to stick with MJF is going to be a piece of shit heel and cheat to win, probably with brass knuckles. It's going to be very interesting to see how he gets the victory here, but I think that it's his time, and I think it's time to crown him. It's going to be AEW's first world champion that's officially their talent, and officially their talent, their homegrown talent. Yes, he was in MLW prior to AEW, about 4 or 5 years ago at this point, but man, like, this dude made himself a star in AEW and made his name, really, in AEW, so I think you gotta pull the trigger and have him have just a phenomenally long run. I would have him be champion for at least the next year. So, again, depending on contracts and all that, which we'll obviously probably get more information halfway through next year. So, officially, guys, again, my pick, MJF, being a piece of shit heel, picking up the victory against Jon Moxley and becoming your new AEW World Heavyweight Champion. I'm not sure how William Regal is going to play into it, what it's going to look like for the Blackpool Combat Club going forward, but that's why we watch wrestling, right? That's why we love this crazy, fascinating world. It's because even when shit's not great, it still keeps you glued in, and it still leaves you wondering, and it still keeps you thinking, right? For better or for worse sometimes, but that is the full card as of this point. Thank you guys so much for downloading, listening, following the show. Again, you can follow the show on Twitter at kickashpodcast_. You can follow me on Twitter for however long we still have Twitter in the world at ASHMANNS. And until next time, guys, take care and have a good week.